I mean, he wasn't fast. He was gonna let me ride. He was gonna let me ride. We got there. We got there. We got.
Testing. I don't know if Berkshire does not.
No, I'm staying with my friends, so tonight she gets off work.
That's
We're gonna do like a mini road trip. She wants to go to places that I kind of don't want to go to, so it'll be a fun, best place on She's like, yeah, she's like, we're going to New York. She's like, we need to go to the Jersey Shore. I'm like, I know. So I'm like, all right, we'll go to Jersey Shore, get the orange can, and I will go find somewhere to go. You're on your own.
We can end it for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I fly back to LA next Sunday. Yep. It'll be interesting. I'm sorry? We're going to be primarily in New York, but we have a friend up in Boston, so we might drive see how sober we can go up and down the coast.
We're gonna get started now.
The sooner we start, the sooner we end.
And that'll be soon. How do you drive innovation and also and/or legal community? So I wanted to do some type of presentation here. And I thought, what was the best way I could get out of giving a presentation? I picked the two guys that talked the most. So that's kind of how I got involved on it. That way I didn't do too much. So on my left is Phil, and I'll let him introduce himself.
I'm Phil. From Pepperdine.
And I'm Tom. And I'm Chris. So we'll get started out there. What we thought is, go to the next slide. What is innovation and how you do it? One of the things we really, I think, as people in technology often miss is innovation doesn't have to be technology. It can be something really simple. An example Phil gave was moving the trash can just to change the workflow. So I think when we think of innovation, we always think that it has to be these big, complicated things, or a new program, or a new computer, or something like that, where it doesn't. It can be something as simple as just moving a trash can. To change the workflow, to make something more innovative, a new way of doing something, a new idea, just something new that makes it more efficient and more effective. And I think that's my view of innovation. And you guys?
Pretty much the same, yeah.
I don't know, what is Wikipedia saying? Probably the same thing, right? We all know that's an archive source. So, yeah.
I think one of the things we want to do here is, since this is kind of a last day session at 9 o'clock, and everybody's just kind of either ramping up or ramping down, depending on where you are, we want to have a dialogue. We don't want to do a presentation because, frankly, we're lazy. And I think I speak for the whole group when I say that. And it's so much more interesting to hear what other people are saying. We don't claim to have any answers or special knowledge, but we've all three been doing this a long time, and there's a number of other folks here who have been doing it
Much shorter time.
even longer. And I don't want to name anybody's name. Steve Leroy. But yeah, locating a trash can, something simple like that. We can put forward. And we also want to make it clear that it's important to allow people to express their creativity in the workplace. Some people you kind of want to yeah, it'd be nice if you weren't so creative all the time. Maybe you could put away all those figurines that are in your office and that kind of thing. But we found that Pepperdine, that allowing people to have an outlet for their creativity is really important. I have a small staff, and I have people that have a lot of different interests. And, we have folks that are musicians and folks that are artists and that sort of thing, but their jobs don't really completely line up with that. And so what I've tried to do is allow them a creative outlet in the context of their job. One gentleman we have who pretty much manages our AV plant and goes from room to room to make sure everything works and helps faculty with the equipment. We've adjusted his job description so that he also does a lot of graphic arts because he loves to do that stuff. And so he does banners and graphics for websites and lots of print things. And it's been really great to allow him that freedom to do stuff that's fun for him in the context of his position.
One thing that I try to do is I let each one of the workers have a project it doesn't even have to be law related. We try to set aside time that they can work on that. Just something free, something to let them get out of their normal work job every week or an hour or two that they can work on something different that hopefully it'll benefit the law school, but it doesn't have to. It's just something to kind of give some time to get away from their normal job and just kind of let them think and let them enjoy being at work for a while.
So one example that we have is pretty funny. One of the guys that's on our group, who usually just does like help desk type of support, one of our professors got a major grant from the National Sciences Foundation to do a gaming lab. And so as soon as I saw it, I said, oh, this is perfect for this guy. And so he has bought multiple TVs, Xbox, PlayStation, Wii, the Kinect, all the controllers, like 2 or 3 dozen games, and we converted a classroom into this whole gaming lab. We bought an Alienware, top of the line system and all these games. And so he gets to go up there and test and make sure everything is working. But it was something that he really loved. And we have a slide, I think, that talks about that. And I'm still dying to figure out this whole trash can story. You're going to have to share that with us instead of just telling us about moving a trash can. But
I'd be happy to.
Okay, good. So we need to know that. But so I think one of the things that's really important is what I want to just go back to what Chris was saying about innovation doesn't have to be technology per se, or it can be, right? Obviously it is. Right? No one will doubt that the PC is not innovative, but they're still capturing the interests, the right side, left side.
I don't think
The
they're
creative side. Which side?
Creative side. Left side. Of the brain,
Thank you for- you
and
got that right, by
letting
the
people grow that, because and the reason why is, going back to a very important thing is, employee morale, right? That if somebody enjoys their job and loves their job and loves coming to work, I think that will foster innovation more than anything else. If you have someone if you're burned out and you're doing the same thing day in, day out, and you have no recourse to get out of that track, your levels of innovation are absolutely positively going to drop, right? You're not going to feel like, you're going to feel like this is a job. It's not something that you love. And if you look at anyone in the arts, right, if musicians or artists or sculptors or anybody like that, they love what they do, right? I hope you imagine. Maybe, where they do the prints, this is print 1, 7,861. They might not be doing that. But the original artists and everything else, ones who really love that, really have a chance to innovate, to be creative. And so as an employee, as a manager, as a fly on the wall, right, you have to strive not to be a fly on the wall, right? You have to strive to be creative. It's really, I think, important for the managers and directors to kind of get their employees to feel valued and to love their job and innovate.
Does anybody have any thoughts on the concept of having innovation as a core value? Please don't raise your hand. I'll tell you about my trash can story. John, can we get you in a minute?
Sure, I just wanted to say I agree that.
Thank you for that. John's a plant, in case you're wondering. Several years ago, we were converting from Voyager library system to, oh shoot, now I can't even remember what it was. It was very memorable, though. No, we were converting from VTLS to Voyager. Anybody remember VTLS? Any librarians in the room? Forgot to ask that. All right, you like this. It was 1999. It's a dark and starry night. So we decided, we had some real, we had kind of a real challenge space for our technical services area, and it was a product of many years of, hey, this desk isn't so bad. Why don't we give this to the library? Hey, here's a file cabinet. We could throw it away. Oh, we could give this to the library. And of course, the library accepted all of these lovely pieces of furniture, and the tech services area was just a jumble of mismatched garbage, really, in the end. And of course, we had people working in this space trying to do their processing. And it was time to fish or cut bait with VTLS, and so we decided, you know what? We're going to go with Voyager, and we're going to completely redo this thing. We're going to use the Voyager turnover to help us make some important changes for our staff. And I suppose the trash can story was a little bit of a, macro for this whole story. But we moved everybody's workspace. We moved everything. And if you know anything about tech services at Pepperdine Law Library, there's a huge ocean view at one end of that area. And we had 2 people that were right up against the windows, and they were bogarting that view for the whole rest of the area. And they were lovely people, and it wasn't like their fault that they were bogarting the view, but one lady loves plants, and she had a forest around her and had her own sort of private enclave, with the Pacific Ocean at one end and a rainforest at the other. So we moved things around, and we opened up the view for the entire area. And one of the things we did was we thought very purposefully about how the workflow was going to work. When the books came in, where did they land, and how did they work through until they got back out on the stacks, where they were destined to go. We didn't want to interrupt anybody's destiny, especially not the books. And part of that included, why don't we get a trash can that can contain the trash and put it where we need it? And that's what we did. It was crazy. Before that, we had a series of like little 1x1, 36-inch high trash cans, and there would be like 4 or 5 of them lined up, and they were always overflowing. So we ended up with a sort of a small gondola. And it's a lovely thing. It's gray. It's filled with things that need to go out. People come and take it, and it goes away. And that's one of the greatest things about civilization, by the way, is trash pickup. That's my story.
I thought you were going to say you guys painted it like some pretty colors or something.
No, the other ones have been painted and annotated and all kinds of other things. So,
And if you throw many of Phil's feature, always knows like what's Pacific Ocean and tells you that he can view it.
I don't see people that can see the ocean. Yeah. June.
I was just going to say, one of the things I love about IT is it does attract this group of people who are just very, very creative. And so I find that most of my staff end up being musicians and artists, and it's a wonderful thing. And the thing that's great about having those kinds of people is how they approach problems is so different. One of my frustrations is when you get somebody, there's this problem and it's a square, And yes, there's a solution. It should have been this square, but it's not. It's round, and everyone's sitting there going, well, how many times can we pound this round peg into this square hole? And when you don't have somebody who's creative, that's what happens. You know, you get this pounding and nothing works. So if you get somebody who's creative, they can think, well, maybe we should try a different peg, or we can reshape the peg, or whatever it is. You know, we can reshape the hole even. So I think, you know, this idea of innovation in IT is so critical to the success of the organization.
Has anybody ever been burned out and ready to leave? How did you overcome that?
I left.
Back row.
I was just gonna say, I mean, there's, I find myself walking a fine line between allowing innovation and halting it. Because there's times when, you know, somebody's got a very innovative way of approaching something, but then I start looking at, you know, how are we gonna support this if this person leaves? Or how am I gonna scale it if it becomes wildly popular? And I'm not doing it just once, I'm doing it 40 times. You know, I mean, so, or what's going to happen when the security officer on campus finds out about this? I just, you know, it can be a fine line for me, you know, just trying to make sure that it's something that I can support, you know, from a resource standpoint and from a, you know, ongoing, you know, solution standpoint. So it's not like just stifling the, you know, here's the ball, take it, go on with it. I just can't do that.
Now, I think that's one of the challenges that we want to talk about, we'll get to is, you know, funding and how do you do it, and how do you tell people know when it is an innovative idea, to make sure you don't drive them away if they don't keep on coming to you. Because I think that's one problem is if you have to tell somebody no a couple of times because you just can't do it, it's not scalable or anything like that, you don't want to lose that person as an innovator. And how do you deal with that? How do you make sure you say, no, that's a great idea, and keep on bringing them, but unfortunately can't do this one now? And I think that happens a lot is somebody has grand ideas and they keep on bringing those and they get turned down so many times. They quit being innovative and they quit going to their boss. And that's a hard thing to deal with because you do want that balance. And I think that's something I deal with a lot is which ones are good, which ones are bad. But I don't want to lose that person innovative, so I really got to, when I say no, or you really got to touch that very carefully.
And the assumption is that the person that's you're fostering in the vein of innovation is someone that's actually going to contribute to the organization. I had a somewhat innovative employee at one time who could never focus on the job at hand and was so busy, quote unquote, innovating that I was documenting this person to get ready to terminate them, and then they ended up saying they were going to go innovate somewhere else, and that was
Side relief.
that was a very wonderful blessing. Exactly.
So your point is a good one because getting a group of very smart, very creative people together and getting them to work in the confines of an organization toward organizational objectives and supportive organizational objectives and bringing out all the best of them without squashing their creativity is always, you know, the herding cat's endeavor, and it's sort of an ongoing challenge. But it happens a lot that people have great ideas that can't be implemented for one reason or another. And I think it just helps to let people understand why. And also do the sort of reverse of what we do with our clients, where we say, well, we can't do that, but what are you trying to get? You know, maybe we can get to it in a different way. There's sometimes seeds in those ideas that you can take, and that's rewarding for the people who originated them.
One of the things we try to do kind of proactively is set the stage for where we want the innovation to take place. And for many years, we would meet every other week as a team and talk about what's going on. But we'd always start with our mission statement and try to cast, you know, kind of what our parameters are, where we're going. And I think we can do probably a little better job on that. But I've been really happy with building a team that really works well together. And so they kind of police each other too. Hey, what are you working on, man? It's like too far off to the side. We need to be more, you know, in this vein. And it's really been, you know, maybe it's a little bit sunny a word, but it's really been wonderful working with a team that is working together as a team to solve the challenges and do cool stuff that affects people in a positive way.
I think that funding sometimes is an excuse not to do things. And if you're creative, you can find ways around. I'm in the legal field, I'm an attorney, and I have a legal clinic in a very rural area in my country. And I decided that I wanted to create all my files electronically. But I didn't have any funding for a scanner, and at the time technology wasn't ready after So I realized that a digital camera creates a digital image, and that can be converted by OCR into text. So I then started to take pictures and use the software to convert it until I was able to get a scanner. So sometimes when you have a problem, the question, the focus should not necessarily first be on funding, but first on the solution and how you create a solution with the resources that you have.
And there's a lot of funding resources that I think we miss working at a university or college, because we just tend to look at the college, and I think there could be other opportunities outside of that. Yeah.
Was there another hand? We kind of talked about this, but I don't know about you, but I'm never looking for problems to solve. Anybody here? Problems to solve? That was my intro. Go ahead.
I was trying to remember where we're at in the slides. So I want to make a comment. I was listening to both of you about your point about how do you look at supporting something. And so just to touch on that briefly, I look at it like two ways, right? There's the one side of if I have this person build this project and maintain it, what happens if that person leaves? Versus buying a commercial product and supporting that. And then I realized that in the grand scheme of things, well, technology is constantly evolving, right? I mean, look no further than people's websites. How many people in here every couple of years go and pay a vendor to redo their webpage? Right, the whole redesign of the website. Come on, put your hands up. I know you're changing your
How many
website.
do it themselves?
All right, so there's a disconnect here. If you're not doing it yourselves and you're not paying a vendor, where's it coming from? Right? Everyone's like looking around. Like, okay, so let's just take the analogy that you're redoing your tech, right, all the time. And so if you go out and you have someone and they come and they present a really good idea, and you do a cost-benefit analysis, and you say, well, yes, that'll work for me for now. And if you leave in a couple of years, then I buy a commercial. Because I'll just be changing out the tech, just like I do anything else. The flip side, though, is that if you have a person who's really good at this and they keep taking on these projects, they have to maintain all of those projects. So if they've got 25 special things, they've got to maintain 25 special things. So it's really important that you as a manager, right, you look at it, you kind of instill upon them templating, if they're coding or whatever. Special projects are harder because you don't have a lot of shared components, but you have to keep that on check. So I don't think I would ever say no, but when someone comes to me and says, oh, that's a great idea, the next logical part of the conversation is, well, how are we going to support that, at least in the short term? Because in the long term, right, if your idea leads to bigger and better things, it's not a failure. It's still an innovation. So if you go and you say, wow, I want to do this, but this costs $80,000 a year, we don't have money to do $80,000 a year. If you have an employee do it, even though he might leave in a year or two, but it costs you $10,000, it might be the catalyst that gets the interest to realize that the $80,000 product is necessary at some point in the future. So I don't think, I'm just saying that's more of a manager's perspective, not an employee's perspective, but to realize that we're evolving, we're constantly evolving. And so I think you always just, obviously there's business decisions and everything else, we'll talk about that specifically, but there are arguments to be made for both sides of it, and things that you just have to keep in perspective as you look at innovation.
Fostering innovation.
I'm blind, so I can't read that screen. I need to turn around and read this screen, because some of the rooms have the screens that are up here, and 17 that are this way, up this way.
I think one of the big things of this is that listen to your faculty, your students, and your staff. They have ideas. IT is not the only ones that should drive technology. We should be listening and following up on what they are. Even if we don't agree with it, we should research it, find out what it is, find out how it is, because we're not the ones that we implement it, but we're not the ones using it daily often. And and the faculty is, the staff is, the students are. So we should really follow their lead actually a lot with technology and let them be the real pushers of it, and we implement and support what they need. We're not there to support ourselves, we're there to support our faculty, staff, and students. So let them be the innovators often.
So one thing on the top here about looking for problems, I mentioned that in the session I did the other day, that on Fridays, people from my group go out to all of our constituents and they go out and they talk to them. They don't wait for them to call, they go out and say, hey, how are you? How are things going? Right? And so it's very interesting, the number of problems that they find, that when they talk to the people are like, well, I didn't want to bother you. Or I didn't want to, it's not a big deal, right? Or anything like that. And so by us going out and being proactive, innovation is not real, it's just in that customer service side, right? It's in a realization that whether you're in the library, whether you're a faculty member, whether you're an IT person, right? We are a customer service industry, right? I mean, we are providing, it depends who you ask, right? So as an IT person, I would say I think the faculty are providing customer service to students. They're teaching them, right? They're helping them to learn. But the faculty are doing research. That's a larger debate for another day. The same with the librarians, right? You're doing research. You're helping people. IT, you're helping people. It's our core business, I think. And so I think it's important to reach out and to go out and say, hey, how are you? And I'll tell you, I think it's great. It was not my idea. It was one of the guys who does it. And I thought, that's wonderful. Go and do that. I've been doing it now. Him and a couple other guys go out for maybe like last 7 or 8 months. They've been going out to all the different departments and just, and it gets face time with people and they love it. And so it's a wonderful, very innovative, I think, and low tech solution. Right? Go out and say hi.
In order for me to better understand the struggle between supporting innovations and whether to do it and whether not, I was wondering if you guys could maybe throw out a few more examples of the types of innovations that you had to decide whether to support or implement or back away from. There's just some more concrete things that I can sort of wrap my head around.
We have a slide for that.
So it's a powerful slide.
Powerful slide.
I'll give you one that's not on the document. Down there on the slide, it was kind of a simple one. We were slowly migrating to storing all of our receipts and stuff like that digitally. And we were looking at our big document management system, and we kept on looking at it, and the cost was huge and stuff like that. And we actually sat down and started breaking down, what do we actually need? We just need to rotate these files by certain things. Instead of paying all this money for our document management system, we just came up with a filing scheme. And it worked out perfectly. It saved money. It wasn't very innovative. It was simple. And that was the solution. To be simple about it and just have year, month, date, vendor, and a code on the back. Everybody knew what it was. It took a little bit to catch on. But it worked perfect. It saved a lot of money. And the person came up with it. It was a great idea. I mean, it's little things like that that make a big difference. Save money, and they're innovative. They really are. You don't think it's simple, but it was very innovative.
Yeah. A little revolution there.
We did a minor install in a couple of classrooms a few years ago. When we had classrooms just a few years ago that didn't have projectors. These are big 140-seat classrooms. And we had zero money. It was the end of the fiscal year. We had very little interest from the senior administration to do a big implementation. Because this is a room with a hard lid, concrete floors, not a friendly room for anything. But we were able to kind of present something and say, we'll do a lot of the work. It's not going to be $50,000. It'll be the price of the projectors plus cabling. And it wasn't a big, long, drawn out weighing options. It was either we make this happen or it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I tend to be the guy that gets on the ladder because I don't want someone else to break their neck. I'd rather it be my fault. But we shared the ladder a little bit. And it worked out pretty well, actually. And it was a pretty simple installation, so we weren't really worried about warranty issues and that kind of stuff. We didn't do anything crazy. We bought standard things. We actually used a product called Rapid Run from Cables to Go for the cabling. So that made it really simple. And so if we needed to bring a contractor in to do any changes, it was very vanilla.
But prior to that, you were wasting a lot of time.
We were
rolling
carrying in
cardboard.
projectors
Yeah.
in these big tiered classrooms, and it was just crazy.
I'm an evil faculty voice, just owning up. So my job, I was in charge of faculty development. I'm trying to get faculty to think about incorporating IT and how to use it. As simple as a lot of them didn't know how to reserve a classroom, so I made a little YouTube video on how to reserve a classroom. And so what a different voice I'm giving you is that you have faculty as problems that need to be solved. Rather than people that need to be innovated. Like, so I need innovation.
Oh, we're not listing the problems. Those are the sources of.
Right, but you see us as a source of a problem, which I fully admit we regularly are, obviously. But I guess I'm also saying we need innovation. Like, I can't tell what it is I could be doing without your innovation feeding in behind me and saying, oh.
So we have a slide on.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So we have a lot of slides.
Students do all the time.
Let me tell you the problem
You
here,
guys
right?
need a Prezi.
Is that we worked on this.
Don't say it.
Okay, I won't say it. But I think you're absolutely so. I look at it like this. A lot of times, technology. I mean, obviously, how many people in here have done a project and it's failed? And failed not because it wasn't a good idea, but because it wasn't a solution for a problem that people solved the same way you solved, right? So the thing is that a lot of it is that you need. Can we jump to the champion slide? Right.
I don't know.
So when you innovate, right? So if I have an idea that I think is really cool for the faculty, how am I going to make that successful for the faculty? And obviously, maybe we'll never see that slide. Maybe it'll be out of order by the time we get there. But you need a champion, right? You need to have a faculty member who is on board, who thinks it's a great idea, who's going to talk to the other faculty members, or more importantly, the faculty member who's going to say, that idea sucks. Don't waste your time on it because we're not going to use it anyway. There's a lot of things that you might think are a great idea that your coworkers or colleagues don't think is a great idea, or you could have one that is. And everything's balanced, right? Because you have faculty members, we have faculty members who it doesn't matter if you could have something that would let them, get into the DeLorean and jump through time. They wouldn't use it. Right? They wouldn't have a need for it. And so, we have one faculty member who comes into the office once a week, and every time that faculty member comes in, they call and ask how to print. Right? It's an older person, but that, so how can we innovate that better for that individual? So we wrote notes, and every time we go, they write notes, and it doesn't work out. But I think that for me, the goal here is to never stop trying. To never say that idea didn't work and not try again. That you have to keep trying. You have to keep innovating. Like we look for examples of projects that we've done that we've innovated. Years and years ago, I wrote a video recording system. I don't know if you guys know about it or not. To compete with
Cams.
Yes, cams. To compete with like the Echo 360s and all the different, back then I think there was only 2 vendors. It's not like today where there's 17 vendors of electric capture. But what's important to note is that 2006 we did our first recording with it. We've done over 15,000 since then, right? Is it as feature rich as any of those products? No. But do you know how much money I've spent in the last, it's been 2006, right? Back 7 years, right? I think we've spent less than $20,000 on all the hardware, right? The cameras and everything for 7 years of lecture capture. And our lecture capture is just now, it's high-def video recording, pointing at the front of the screen. So it doesn't capture slides, it doesn't have all those cool features. But it costs $20,000, right? We record 40 or 50 hours of high-def a day on that solution. It works great. Is it as great as the commercial solutions? No, it's not. I'll be the first to admit it. But it works. And it costs a heck of a lot less. So innovation is, but again, it's that stopgap. So if the faculty came to me and said, we want more, then we look at doing more. But sometimes the solution is not a $100,000 solution. $50,000 solution. Sometimes it's baby steps along the way to get it right.
I think we come back and push faculty a lot when we come back from these conferences and stuff like that. Come back with ideas or talking to colleagues or seeing something new is coming out. We come back and try to push faculty a lot to try something, and that's where, to me, the champions come in, because I need a faculty that'll take it and run with it. I like getting students and having students push my idea, because faculty tend to listen to students a lot more than IT sometimes. So I tend to make good friends with the SBA president and try to get a little group that I can use to push. I hope my faculty don't watch this. To push faculty along a little bit more and bringing back ideas from this and stuff. So I don't think they just have to come from the groups. I think we push them in and bring them up. But that was just part of the example. I think there's a lot of areas that we can get innovation from everywhere outside and everything else.
The interesting thing, anybody here know what Light Show is? Anyone ever hear of Light Show? So years ago, there was a technology, it was called Light Show. And it was a hardware box that you could buy, and you could connect up to your projector. And it had a software program. It originally came out working on the PC, and it had a software program that you could load on your iPad, first gen. And you could convert files in advance to the format, you could put them on the iPad, and you could remotely present on the projector. And I thought it was really cool that you could do this, right? And I was like, wow, this is really great. It's a great idea. And so we bought a couple of them, we put them out, and we demoed it to everybody, and it went nowhere, right? Nobody was interested in it because it didn't work. It didn't do it well. Guess what? We have 16 Apple TVs now doing AirPlay, right, for our iPads, and they get used all the time. All the time. So it was the same solution, right? The remote presentation. It was just ahead of its time. So don't give up, right? You know, that's the goal, like to realize that this is something people are going to want to do, and realize that sometimes you might be ahead of the curve, keep just a little bit, but keep on pushing, and keep on realizing that you look at what's out there on the market, look at what people are doing, and realize that people are going to want to do those things. They're going to see it. I mean, it's great advertising, right? You turn on TV, you see an Apple ad, and you realize they advertise how you can do these types of things. And then faculty members, I mean, who here has seen a massive increase in the number of faculty and students with iPads and stuff, right? Everybody has, right? Who uses an iPad in here to teach a class, whether you're an IT person, you're doing like a presentation, or you're a faculty member, you're doing a presentation, right? People are doing it, right? People are doing it, and I think it's increasing more and more. And so, you know, and one of the things that's really cool is Windows 8.1, Chris was telling me, is going to have the Miracast built into. Miracast is Intel protocol for wireless streaming. It's be built into Windows 8.1, which means that, you know, everyone who's Windows 8 will get that update, right? And so all of these laptops will be able to wirelessly present. All of these Surface Pros and Microsoft. So you have the two makers of the tablets, right? And by the way, Android supports Miracast as well. So there's a box. It's $69, and you can, it has HDMI output. You plug it into a projector, and it supports Miracast and WIDI, which is wireless display. And so you can think about how you can put these devices relatively inexpensively, right? You can add a $99 Apple TV, this price, and the $70 WIDI device. You know, $170. Put those in each of your classrooms. Now, granted, you might not have a projector that has the inputs, everything else, okay? There's some technical limitations. But for $170 a classroom, you can have wireless display across every single device. Every single device. Every single device. Makes it ubiquitous. You can support it. It's an open standard. And people can go and they can just wireless. I mean, I think, you know, here, this is great, right? You can do something on here. I don't even know. But imagine I'm sitting here with my iPad or my, you know, Windows Media, whatever tablet I don't have. But you could walk around and you can present. You can share presentations in a room, right? So if a student is in the back, they can wirelessly present to the whole class, right? You don't need to buy. I mean, who here has like Linksys systems? Not Linksys, the Cisco off-brand that's recently been sold, but there's actually a product called Linksys. So something similar where you have like a room with all these computers. They have a hardware solution to let them all remote present, remote share, right? People have seen that. But this is something that you don't have to buy anything. You don't have to support anything. This is just gonna work on your laptop. This is gonna work on your iPad. This is gonna work on whatever you have. You're gonna be able to do this. I mean, it's taking what's out there on the market and using it and bringing it and realizing if I spend $170 on a few rooms, right? I'm not gonna really be all put out. And more importantly, all you need is one or two champions. It's a success.
I think with it, you can actually take your faculty and remove them from the podium and put them into the classroom more interactive, hopefully over time, and hand off the presentation while you're doing this. I think we had a couple more.
I think to jump back to slide 1, we were talking about morale. You don't have to jump back, but
There's a question mark on that slide.
metaphorically. As you know, the management employee challenge is managing the failure. So you have everyone, walking through the building with light bulbs going on all the time, and you have this innovative project that perhaps gets some traction, or an idea, or a process change, or something that gets traction, and it's managing that failure, whatever the break point is. The break point might be the less innovative faculty or the more innovative faculty, that they're not going to embrace that solution, or we find that this was the perfect idea for the problem as we saw it, not as the user saw it. But I'm wondering, how do you manage that failure to preserve morale, motivation, and those other things?
I think it depends on the individual with the failure. I mean, everybody deals with failure slightly different. So I think I would judge that based on who was the lead on that and why did it fail. And I don't think I would have one way to do it. It would depend on the person and the failure and why it happened. To me, I think it'd be more of a fluid situation that could be different in every failure.
I think a lot of it depends on the personality of the person that's kind of the prime mover in the project. I don't think of any of our stuff that didn't fly as failures.
I actually hate using that word failure, that the project wasn't as successful as we had envisioned it.
Right. Well, not everything is going to be a home run.
Right.
And we just want to move the ball down the field. And we want to make, again with the team thing, I mean, we're all part of the team, and I really feel like we work together pretty well. And so if we don't have a big success, we're like, hey, good try, let's keep going. I don't spend a lot of time worrying about it. Maybe I'm missing something big in my department, but I don't spend a lot of time worrying about, oh gee, what if this doesn't fly? Now sometimes I get assigned a project. I worry a lot about those not flying. But when we incubate our own sort of solutions, it's just like, good job, guys. I mean, you nailed it. Not everybody's using it, but you nailed it. And let's keep moving forward. I don't know if that's an answer, but that's how we do it.
It's what it is.
One thing that can sometimes help minimize the chance of having something that's just not a match with the need is to almost bring the customers in as part of the development team.
Absolutely.
So we work really closely with them, making sure we understand the statement of need right to start with. And sometimes it's talking to them, not even about technology, just talking to them and knowing what they do and what's going on with them to suggest technology that might be appropriate, might be helpful to them. But once we get into that development phase, the customer is part of that team. So we meet with them, we show them, does this look like what we're talking about? Does this work for you? And we modify as we go, and that helps. And it also invests them, so you end up with even stronger champions.
And it fosters that relationship for the next
Yeah.
time, if you need somebody for that next champion.
We just redesigned our lecterns for the classrooms, and that was, we attempted to make it a very collaborative effort with our faculty, because we don't want to put something in the room that people are going to hate. I mean, not worry about it is kind of the base level. We're hoping that people don't hate it, or if they don't hate it, that's sort of our goal. And so we did a full-scale mock-up with cardboard and labeling, and dragged it around different places and tried to, is this big enough? Do you have enough space to put all your stuff? I know you don't use a computer. I know you don't want all this stuff. So if we swing this over here, how's that going to be for you? And we'll see, because the lecterns get delivered in a couple of weeks. But Yeah, I mean, you have to involve the stakeholder, I mean, it's sort of the standard term. People want to be involved. If something's going to be applied to them, it's not as wonderful than, you know, if they're part of the process. And I know who's had a solution applied to you, you know, even if it's a great solution, it didn't feel that great until you got to using it. And we want people to draw in the solutions as part of the process. So that's a great point. Yeah.
I hope my guys agree with this. I gotta be careful here, but when something doesn't work properly, I try to make sure that I'm the face of it. I'm gonna take the heat if it doesn't work. And I'll give them the accolades if it does work. But I don't want a professor, you know, giving them heat directly if something's not working. It should be directed at me, and then I take care of it from there, because I don't want to stifle them, you know, from, you know, being innovative or taking a chance. If we've agreed that we're doing something, it's really my responsibility.
That's a great point. That's why, the leader takes the hit, and the folks who do the work get the benefit of restating for those of you who are watching in Cyberland. And that's why you get the executive washroom and the company car. We all have that, right?
I had the Hot Wheel that I was given the other day. Well, I'm not trading.
Any other thoughts on that? Do we want to talk about magazine racks? You know, who gets magazines? I mean, I get so many magazines. And one of the things I try to do, and I think we all do this to some extent, is route things. And the routing thing gets a bit oppressive because it seems like someone stacks up all the library journals, and then they just line through them and they put them in my box. And I'm like, oh geez, this one's like from April of last year. I'm not seeing anything current. Thanks. So, you know, I try to whip through everything and mark up things and give people stuff that's kind of in their area of expertise. But, you know, I just have this collection of magazines that we try to keep fresh and keep in circulation so people can see. And I don't know about you, I don't read that many articles. I look at the ads. That's how I learn about what's new, and especially in the AV world. Did you win, Tom?
No, I agree.
But I mean, even something as mundane as a paper magazine can really help us moving forward and seeing solutions that we probably hadn't thought about before. I don't remember how we found out at the Kick station, but how many people have Kick stations at their libraries? It's a scanning station. They're fabulously expensive. You're kidding? No, you guys got to check these out.
What is that?
It's a walk-up scanner, open book scanner, overhead, and a few of us have made them in our basements with digital cameras. This is all in one, and it's over 20 grand and supports about 10% a year. So it's not free, but you know what? It has almost completely replaced all of our copiers.
Zeitzel puts out a very nice one for half the price.
Who does?
Zeitzel, the German company.
Oh, the Germans. I think these guys are from Florida. No, but you know, we produce more copies with printing and copiers than the entire rest of the university combined. And we're not that big of a university, but we've been working hard to reduce our. I'm not like Mr. Green, Gene. I don't see any need of printing things if you don't need to print it. I don't see any need of copying things if you don't need to copy it. And the less paper we have to pile up all around the building, the better off all of us are. And we've gone from literally millions of pages a school year to well under 1 million pages. And this is one of the things that has really helped us. So you scan your thing, you can email it to yourself, you can put it on a thumb drive. And I don't really think of this as innovation. We just bought something and plugged it in. But it made a big difference, and our students love it. And our public patrons, they don't have to buy a copy card and deal with all that rigmarole. This is free. Just use it. And it works pretty fast. I've seen maybe 2 people waiting to use it. It's not like we have a giant line to use it. But I showed it to the guys, like, oh yeah, I can put it in. Like, it's really not that innovative, we just bought it and plugged it in. But it works great.
We actually got, I think, 2 of them at Boston University and had such big lines that we had to buy more. So, yeah, they're awesome. The split screen, automatic split the page.
Right.
Yeah.
So on the open book, it'll scan that open thing into 2 PDFs, or 2 separate pages in a single PDF. Kind of nice. And I have a picture of one of my guys here. I asked one of the guys to take some pictures for this talk. I said, I want a picture of Matt with a flat black spray can. And so they innovated this. I didn't tell them what I wanted it for, but we use flat black paint for all kinds of things. It hides a world of sin. And here he's tagging some of the stacks. I still haven't had a chance to talk to him since this picture was taken. But anybody use flat black paint or anything? It is awesome.
What do you use it for, Phil?
We make all kinds of things that we hide up in corners and things like that, and we just make a little box, paint it flat black. It's all done. And nobody knows it's there.
You mean you don't, we have a university decorator that we are not allowed to attach anything permanently in an area that can be seen by the public without the university decorator's approval.
Phil has that person too. He just doesn't listen to them.
I've had to have people take pictures of the walls.
And if anybody asks, I was the one that put it there. So,
Right, next one.
This feels very conclusory, but I don't think
Yeah, great conclusion.
Go.
Support it and be involved. I think what I was thinking here is that a lot of times faculty, I've seen where faculty come with their ideas, and because it doesn't come from IT, or we might not agree it, we didn't support it as good as we should have, or we didn't follow up with the faculty, like, yeah, do that, that's great. I think no matter what the idea is, if it involves IT, we should be there, we should support it. It goes back to, we don't have to be the ones bringing the idea, even if we don't like them, we still should be supporting them. It is a part of IT within our school, and we should push it. If it's fitting the need that they need, then we need to support it. It shouldn't be our choice, it should be our faculty, our students, and staff's choice. We should be a service and support of the functions that they need.
And innovation doesn't just have to happen, right? I mean, someone made the example where it's about how you could get like work with an individual or group of individuals, and they're your champions. And sometimes you can develop a product that you think is for a wider audience, and yet only a few people end up using it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Conversely, you could have targeted pockets of innovation that might be something that nobody else sees, right? So it could be someone who comes up to you and just says, hey, I got this great idea that'll just make life better for 1 or 2 people. Well, the nice thing about it is if you make life better for one of those 2 people, they're going to remember that. It's going to get a good feel, good vibe going between them, and it's going to continue to...
2 more votes in the faculty.
Yeah, right. I mean, more champions for IT. So it's really important to have relationships, right? I mean, it's very, very important. And so foster that and help grow that in any way you can. Team building, everything else. Because if the employees feel good about coming to work, they make relationships and they keep them going, good things can happen. I mean, I have a very good relationship, I think, with my boss, my previous boss, and other people, and I hope that a lot of my employees have really good relationships with me, and that we have really good relationships with a lot of faculty. I mean, obviously, there's always going to be exceptions, there's always going to be differences, but being able to work through them and continue on is really important, because it's what life is about, I think, is relationships, right? That's a lot.
We talked about funding.
This goes back to funding of how do you do funding. I think we often just go to the law school, but I think there could be more options out there. Don't forget about development. They might get a little mad, just go for it. But be creative, and know that, going back to town, it doesn't have to cost much if you have somebody in-house to try it. You don't have to look at it as a bad thing. because if it doesn't work out, you can always purchase next year, and you don't lose, you're not losing out that much maybe with it. Pilots and proofs, try them out first, small scale and grow it, but make sure you plan for the scaling. Barbary, Westlaw, there's always sponsors you can talk to that may be able to fund something.
We do a lot of partnering with our IT, the university IT. We did a pilot with Panopto for lecture capture, and probably could have paid for the pilot ourselves, but I don't really want to own lecture capture at Pepperdine University. I want someone else to own it. I'd just be happy being a customer. So, you know, we kind of leverage that relationship with the central IT to say, hey, you know, you've got some folks that are interested in this, we got some folks, and we're just a small little blip at Pepperdine. We're not like a giant gorilla there. And we ended up paying for half of the pilot, and it was us and the university. And that was motivating. It wasn't that much money, but we kind of got the ball moving, and I think it worked out great. And it was another opportunity for my staff to build relationships with their counterparts in the university IT, and also for my staff to get to know some faculty in other parts of the university, which I think is a great thing to have those connections. So it kind of builds our reputation, hopefully, possibly, with other parts of the campus. And we can, you know, like I said before, move the ball further down the line. In the end, they did not end up taking the bait. You know, we ended up getting the contract just for the law school. But, you know, we learned together, and it was, you know, Steve left in a huff earlier, but, you know, it wasn't a failure. It wasn't. I think we learned things. It was, you know, an absolute dollar cost. It was not an expensive learning process. We did have some real challenges at points where I thought, geez, this might have cost us some serious reputation. But in the end, I think we ended up, you know, above where we started.
Okay, we're almost out of time. So I want everyone to go to this webpage because Chris worked really hard on this. For those of you who have web browsers, go to SAFFRON, right? Everyone got that? SAFFRON law.utk.edu/race/ and you should get this. So this is something fun that Chris coded up. A little racing program. If you click on the person's
Phil's. If you click on Phil's.
if you click on Phil's, the cars will race across the screen. So you feel free to click multiple times so we can see.
So the buffer is overwhelmed.
So the buffer is overwhelmed. I don't know. Are you logged in?
Yeah.
You're logged in? Okay, the cars aren't moving.
I think they lost my number.
That's what I'm thinking. I thought you lost your number. So just keep clicking. Keep clicking on the things. And look how quick they're moving. They should be moving on your screen now.
Refresh, yeah, refresh.
Yeah, I think I actually dropped the application.
Well, there you go. So here's a good thing, always testing. But I'm going to give Chris the benefit of the doubt because this was written yesterday. Okay, so anyway, everyone there, clicking away, click, click, click. All right. Well, there you go. That didn't work out quite as I had hoped it would. You lost your network connection. Yeah. All right. Are the cars moving on your screens?
Yes.
All right. Who's winning? Tell us. I know Phil's not winning. Did you get back online? No, you didn't get back online. Okay. You know what? We can bring it up on that computer. Couldn't we?
They all went backwards.
So while we wait, they all went backwards. Well, there you have it. So while we wait for that, anyone have any other questions? Any questions, anyone? All right. So thank you all for coming. Feel free to click on all our names if you so you can leave. May I wish all of you safe travels. It appears that we're in for another wonderful night of weather in the Chicago area. So hopefully everyone gets out safely and gets to their destination as they're leaving today. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Oh, yeah.
We have some Toshiba's, but I would like to get something that would be cheaper and for students, yet only for That's PDF
Crowley is the only I bought it in August for 10, last August. It scans to PDF, it splits the PDF pages, it sends it to the, you can email it. Laurie absolutely jumped up and down and had great love. What was it again? It's Zeit, I think it's Zeta. They've got like 9 different kinds of Zeits. But Crowley, C-R-O-W-L-Y, is the only US vendor. Because everybody was telling me, buy Bookeye. It's $125,000. You know, and I've got 300 kids. I don't need 125,000. But some of these, like if you looked at their picture, they mounted it to the wall because it's on this like skinny little pole, and I just like in my mind was looking at book bags going, whoa. And maybe no, you have to move the pages. They have the automatic ones, but those are up over $100,000. You don't want that as a public station. This is a walk up, press the button, and it starts. The biggest thing we've had, it takes like a 2-minute training the first time some of them want their hands held. And the biggest problem we've had is the time to get them to actually press the button that says follow, have the instructions in English.
So we have
you have to put the book down and you do have to put the pages, but it doesn't break the book down.
But this one is
right.
so they just walk in, drop it down.
Right, and that's easier. So,
The way they block it, you know, I think the macro.
That's closer.
Blocks their 18 traffic, or the 18 blocking. It's their 18 traffic.